This week on Fate to Obsidian, we will be discussing chapters 17 through 32 of Morningstar. We recommend that you have also read to this point in the book to avoid spoilers. Please be aware that this episode contains discussions about violence and death, as well as strong language. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome everybody to this week's episode of Fade to Obsidian. I am Skipper, joined as always by Crescent, and this week we have a very special guest of Merlot. Welcome.
Hello.
Excited
to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining us.
Both of us, saying that we're both surprised and not surprised how much you do and do not look like Ron Swanson.
You've caught me in a very extra beardy time right now, so.
Yeah,
That looks good. Looks good.
Fully expecting Ron Swanson, but knew to lower my expectations. It's fine.
Sorry to disappoint. There was no secret Neil Offerman in this channel or our server.
It'd be great if there was. But who are you? So why are you Merlot, and what are you drinking tonight?
I am drinking, we'll start with that, a Balvenie 12. And I am Merlot because I'm dry and humorless. No, I think just because my humor, I kind of send in the server ends up being very dry across the board. So I actually get that a lot in my normal life. I have people like, I have no idea if you're joking or not. So compliment or otherwise. No anonymity on the internet for me.
No, I love it. Crescent, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Ardbeg Corryvrecken, which is a nice scotch that I've been trying to find for a couple of years, and I managed to find it in a small town. Yeah. So I shipped it to myself by driving it.
There you go. That counts.
Efficient.
Hell yeah.
I have the Oban 10-year. This is the 2022 special release, so there's like a psychedelic purple rabbit on it.
Yeah, and cool. I think that's probably the coolest design out of those bottles.
Yeah.
Because that's out of that same line as the one I was drinking last week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this one did get shipped to me today, or shipped to my local liquor store that I picked up, but I did have it special ordered for me. And I got very lucky that I checked my email today to see that it had arrived. So I'm very excited about that one. And I'm going to throw out there as well that the other thing that I checked my email and got today was an advanced reader copy of Lightbringer. So I'm kind of... Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah. I screamed. I am book industry, so it's earlier than most people are getting it, and it just like someone genuinely emailed it to me and was like, here you go, and I was like, oh my god, you're the best human to ever exist.
How long did you cry for?
It was like 15 minutes that I had to like sit there before I could do anything. All I did was message the den and was like, guys, I have it. So yeah, that's my big celebratory news of the day. 2-ish things in my email that are very good. So there we go. Which today is not necessarily a celebratory chapters we are reading, because it is 17 to 32, and chapter 30 hits hard.
We're gonna have a bad time.
We're gonna
have a bad time.
Yeah. But I guess we'll just launch into this part so that we can just get it out of the way. Chapter 30 at least. But we do start, so the last word of the last part was Mustang, and we start this one with Mustang and Darrow's face-off, if you will.
Darrow's literal face-off.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we get our fight in Quicksilver's boardroom. It's a neat little interaction between kind of all the main players. Cassius is there, Kavix is there, Mustang obviously is there, and
Moira is there
kind of
for a moment.
yeah, and then it's Moira Jerky.
Yep.
Graphic but true.
Yeah, crispy on the edges, bloody down the middle.
Yeah.
Is the actual quote. But yeah, our biggest thing is Darrow and Mustang meeting for the first time since the tunnels of Lycos, and Mustang finding out that Darrow is even alive.
I was gonna say that's kind of my big thing, is that like just her take back of like, I watched you die. Like she has the same reaction as everybody else of like, what the hell is this? Like,
I even enjoyed just her composure in that whole thing, because you see it's like writing, it's like, oh, my eyes drinking Mustang, and she sits down, a cup of coffee, graceful as ever, just so unfazed in her true just goat self of just like, yeah, let's do this.
yeah.
Basically just takes him to task there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing too, is like Mustang was about to kill Darrow. Like she beats the Reaper.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's surprising, for one. Darrow says she fights like she's been at war for a year, and I'm not what I was.
Yeah.
And this is like 5 minutes after Darrow has kind of snapped back into the Reaper.
Yeah.
Kind of his relationship with himself is like a little bit his first real mission back out of the dark.
Mm-hmm. Well, and even like, I know it kind of goes back to the last one, but going through that tower, or Quicksilver Tower, he's just like looking around, like trying to take in everything. And he's like seemingly viewing it in a whole different light than he had before. You can only imagine him then going back in and being reintroduced to this battle. And he's just so underprepared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's it. Like underprepared, and then it speaks a lot to the Darrow Severo, that they are not on the same page. Severo's jammed the comms to Darrow of just kind of a like, shut up, I don't want you talking, and like taking over the Howlers at this point. So we're seeing that riff as they're going into this, that this is not an aligned team. And then we get like all the golds just seem to be like, all right, let's do this. Like you can just watch all of the reaction of like, all right, if we must. Like, but yeah, it's a big one. It's a hard one. And then we do see, I think they take Kavix first, and even then you see Darrow's like, don't kill him. Like we don't.
Yeah.
Like he's very much still. Loyal is not the word, I would say, but
fond. Maybe?
Fond of all these people. Yeah.
Well, what is it they say after he kills Moira? He basically looks up, and like his entire like rage he's just been boiling with just like goes away, because he looks around and he's like, I know all these people, I like all these people. What are we doing?
There's one common thread here. It's not my wife's dream. It's not. He lists a few things, and the common thread is him.
Yeah.
Like, without him, this is what the people he loves do. Basically, they eat each other. And they die.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the sons have been eating themselves for basically a year.
Yeah.
Severo has no idea. He's lost containment. He has basically no plan.
Yeah, and then we see all that.
Right at the end of our last chapters, like, there's nukes going off on Mars, and Severo's like, I don't know if they're ours.
Yeah.
Like, seems like something you should know.
You should probably know where your nuclear weapons are. Just saying. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it ends with another Lorneism. Your death begets death begets death.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
which we're
there's
seeing in this is which by the end of the chapter we're dealing with now, like half the room is dead, the others fled, and then they're sitting in a fray. But yeah, it definitely death begets death.
yeah, and we learn Cassius has started to learn some of the Willow way
Mm-hmm.
faster than he was, and he's totally unafraid. Victra's trying to shout him down basically, and he's just like, no, we're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do this.
Yeah.
There's not much you can do to stop me.
He's
And
got his own winter soldier arm there now.
yeah,
Yeah.
shout out to Arctic.
Yeah. But yeah, and then at the end of this, we do get the Darrow Mustang stare down. And yeah, he nearly kills her. Her face mask is revealed. I think no,
Yeah,
hers is still in the shadow.
he
She turns hers
she
off.
almost kills him,
Yeah, and then his
and
face is off.
he tries to headbutt her, and then she headbutts him back and shatters his plastic helmet,
Yeah.
and his face is uncovered, and then
She uncovers hers so
pulls
that we
back
get
to uncover hers. Yeah,
yeah.
and then I watched you die.
Mm-hmm. Which, yeah.
And we see, I guess, a little bit of Mustang and Kavix. Not much, and not much we didn't know already. Where she begs Darrow not to kill him, which of course, but it shows how much she cares for him. Just like in that stressful moment, she's just still don't kill Kavix, and
Yeah.
then leaves.
Well, I have the packs, and Orion is live. And then, yeah, and gone. So that Darrow's got kind of a like, what does this mean? Are you still on my side? But I also do think it speaks a little bit to Mustang in that moment trusting Darrow of like, here, I'm going to give you this information, and I'm going to give you basically my dad. Like, she could have probably killed him in that moment, tried to save Kavix, and instead it's like, you know what? No, I'm going to keep you alive because in my mind, she trusts that Darrow's not going to kill Kavix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She knows, Darrow knows who he is to her, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. It's a heavy.
Yeah, and then immediately after that, we get Darrow and Sevro's schism getting even wider when Darrow says, "I'm back," and takes over the Howlers because Sevro's plan is shit.
Yeah.
And it talks about how this is the culmination of all of the self-doubt that he's felt since his father's died. Like, Severo hasn't felt ready, I guess. Mm-hmm. And this is Darrow confirming that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty brutal.
Yeah.
And not that he's trying to, but
I mean, you think of the grief he's probably been processing, right? You have 9 months where he thinks his best friend's dead. He's now tasked, his dad's dead. He's now tasked to basically take over the helm of the largest terrorist organization in their universe, their solar system. And he's now trying to figure it out by himself. Well, the only way he probably knows how.
Yeah.
And we always know Severo's stance on pretty much anything. Shit escalates, and
knives,
boy howdy,
weapons.
Yeah.
This is not new that he would.
Brutality.
Very on brand.
Like they talk about just quickly at the end of last section where they're quickly trying to interrogate Mateo, and Darrow's like, this is not the first time this has happened. Like, this is a really kind of new, like, more brutal version of the Howlers. He's like, there was no discussion. Like, this is this is commonplace at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and we see that, like, with Mateo, but then even this part, like, Savro wants Kavak's dead. Like, he's like, no,
Yeah.
we're not
Yeah,
taking him. You're killing
he
him.
tries
and it's
to
like,
kill him.
yeah. And it's like, no.
Yeah, like, he goes to shoot him with the pulse fist, and Darrow has to knock his hand away.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's definitely, he's responding in the only way he knows, but it's stopped working because he doesn't have the true plans for that to work. And we're seeing that, I know there's like the nods throughout this of how the Howlers themselves are responding to it, of when, you know, Victra realizing, like, why are we here without knowing the blueprints, right? Like, all of that, which Victra doesn't know. Like, Victra's always going to be Darrow over Severo at this point, because that's who she knows. But you see it from one after the other, from Ragnar saying, like, follow the Reaper, and, you know, one after the other, all of the Howlers have their beats of kind of looking almost apologetically to Severo of, like, I want to listen to you, but Reaper's saying this, and so I'm gonna follow. Like,
And that's compounded too with like the pillar, right? They notice that the obsidians are on the other side of this pillar, that they've just, the sheer grace of whatever, the pillar's fallen down and blocked them from coming out and just slaughtering them. And so they're like Victor, like you said, right? She's like, oh, this is reckless.
yeah.
Yeah, that's what kind of winds Victra back down, because she's all jacked up on chaos, and
I love that.
they're like, literally the only reason we survived is love, and then they're surrounded, and the only way out is into space.
Yeah,
murder bot, whatever you want to call it.
Also a shit plan.
Well, and they like make it by seconds because they get vacuumed into space, and then
and they're out there for 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
I mean, what does he say? He's like, make sure to breathe out as you're going out into the vacuum. Otherwise,
your lungs will explode.
Yeah, your lungs. That's right.
Yeah.
And we get such an it's so offhand, but it's so cutting and hilarious. Like, let's pray that Holiday's quicker on the stick than Clown is in the bedroom. And it's just like, what did he say?
Woof, into space.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's also a bit of, I don't know if this is intentional, inappropriate foreshadowing, and I'm not going to bring it up now, but let's just say the Victra Severo catching that it's like, we're setting some notes there. We won't say more about that until later in this book, but we're setting some notes. But that at the last moment, Victra manages with her legs to grab Severo.
Darrow grabs him by the mohawk until Victra can get him with her legs.
The legs, and just like wrap the legs. It's fine. We've got this. Yeah, the mohawk comes into play a lot through this. So he grabs the mohawk. His mohawk gets singed at one point, and then
by a pulse fist.
By a pulse fist. And then later when they're having their fight, and we'll talk about that in a second, Darrow describes him, because he's got all his tattoos and his mohawk, as a deranged children's cartoon or whatever, because he's sitting there. The mohawk goes through a lot in this sequence.
Yeah. I think everybody goes through a lot in this.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so they're rushed back, well, not rushed, but they're back to life, with Holiday saving the day by doing a backwards maneuver.
It's not even Holiday that does it, because she says these carrots can't soldier, but they can damn well fly garbage ships.
Yeah.
So we get a little bit of our rising showing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a big theme through the next several chapters, is the other colors coming into this more so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I did enjoy at the end of that is Ragnar just laughing while being like, "The abyss will not claim me yet."
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. The rest of them are all freaking out, and you just hear throughout this laughter from Ragnar. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Just
our big,
unfazed.
our big friendly giant, moderately friendly
Yeah.
giant.
Yeah.
Sufficiently so.
It depends who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, we're awake, and then we get to see kind of beat after beat of the different. So we go see Cavex. I think Cavex is the first once he wakes up.
hmm
And we learn kind of what's happened in Mustang's story of like she's immediately gone back and told the Telemanuses and taken counsel with them. And they've been supporting her, and kind of he walks Darrow through. But then the big thing is they made contact with Severo, and Severo has not
Yeah.
told. Yeah.
Oh, Severo. I'm pretty sure Severo straight up lied and said they didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And he says
It's not
months
just
ago.
keeping it from him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like he straight up just lied to Darrow about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So
I do
that's
thoroughly
yeah, that's
enjoy Quebec's only ever referring to Mustang as Virginia. And it really kind of shows you the
Mhm.
fatherly daughter vibe they have with each other.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the few that ever only. I'm trying to think of anyone else ever at this point says Virginia. I think.
At this point, I don't think anybody else does.
Yeah, I
Did
think.
Nero?
Maybe the Sovereign. I think
So,
Nero even calls their Mustang at least once.
okay.
Yeah. The Jackal, does he? I think he definitely says Mustang over
Oh yeah.
over Virginia. Yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of that. The last little taking her under. Like, I think the whole time Cavex continues to see her as. He knows she's the grown woman and trusts her in that manner, but still is that, like, she's the 10-year-old who came and lived with us kind of an
Oh yeah,
idea.
for
hmm
sure.
Stories, Nazarene, Tales of Arthur, whatever. You get a lot of really cool backstory in that.
Yeah,
Quick
Yeah.
picture, rather.
yeah.
Also
And
love Darrow for them finally being like, oh, he can see how much of a father he was to her, and he even starts to like tear up a little bit. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah. As I always say, he's a stepdad, but he's also the dad that stepped up. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
he's
Cavex.
he's the step up dad.
The step
there he
up
is.
dad. Aw.
Dances a lot.
Yeah. But yeah,
Um,
we do learn also throughout that what happened of, Mustang fled to them immediately, but then when um, she gets the call and is supposed to go to Roke because don't worry, I rescued him. She can suss it out that that's a trap and all of that. So you do get this kind of backstory of she was in one way or another always on his side. As much as
yeah.
obviously you're gonna freak out. Again, why are you just
Mhm.
handing the hollow cube and walking away for the carving? Like, that's, I think, the
Yeah.
huge downfall there. But whatever manner she took that out as, she still supports and comes back
Yeah.
strong.
Well, and Cavex straight up says like she wouldn't have let you live, you or
hmm
Ragnar,
Yeah.
if she didn't believe in what you were trying to make.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
did it in a dumb shit way, and basically dropped a huge handle on her. And what do you expect? She freaked out.
She freaked out and went running back home. That is what happened,
Yep.
and I feel like that is a legitimate response.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Um, but then right after this, we get the Darrow's trying to ask Severo to talk to him about you've been hiding the Mustang, and he just keeps putting it off so that they can talk to Quicksilver, who again kind of info drops so much on us in this moment.
Yes. Yeah. Huge lore dump.
Yeah.
We find out basically the origin of the Sons of Ares and
Mm-hmm.
Silver's involvement therein.
Yeah.
And even for him, because he gets basically pinned into it, but he's like, well, I'm in it. I guess I'm in it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of my favorite is he's just like, you know what? Like I had to go along with it because the Golds, if they discovered it, would have like by association I'm done for, so I guess I'm in. Like he the whole time is
Yeah.
talking and like even the moment he's like I'm not any like I don't care about like your rising or whatever. I'm a capitalist. Like he's just such a businessman of like
Yeah.
this is what's good for the business, so I'm fine. Like actually equality and fair trade and all of that is good business model. So whatever. Like I have my own reasonings for it. I don't care. Like
Truly
Yeah.
transactional. He is a silver
Yeah.
to the T.
yeah,
Yeah.
to
Yeah,
the T.
exactly. Well, and we find out that Quicksilver basically had cut himself off from the Sun's Berries. He's like, no, if Severo's leading it, like, I'm out.
Yeah. But he
'Cause
says you're a bad.
he literally says you're a bad investment.
Mhm.
And what's bad for business is bad for man.
Yeah.
And that really says all you need to know about Severo and Quick's kind of dynamic there.
Well, even Darrow and that,
It's
he's
like,
like, I want to defend him.
Yeah, he says I
Yeah.
want to defend him. He needs to
He
hear
needs
it.
to hear this. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so trying to think back to your first read through, did you believe Quicksilver the first time you read it? Or at what point in that conversation was your flip of like,
Basically, just
oh, he is working with the Suns?
for me, it
He
was
go.
the exact same second that Darrow did.
Mm.
He knows exactly where Mateo was, and I was like, oh yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that Mateo scene because he basically you like see it like at first his first reaction is like to care about Mateo, and you're like, oh, there's something very real or authentic about that reaction to this. So you're like, oh, I think
Yeah.
there's actually more to this guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree of like, because he just fully becomes enraged of like, what did
Yeah,
you
like
do?
what did you do?
Mhm.
Where is
Did you
he?
hurt him?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, his first reaction is protective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that there is something more than just because we know that silvers use pinks in the same way golds do. So that's why their
Yeah.
assumption is just like, whatever, how can this be? You have a pink in your bed. And it's like, no, that is the pink that I love. Like, that's my
That's
husband.
Yeah, Victra,
So,
when they see Mateo there, she's like, oh, it must be his paramour.
yeah.
Because he's not known for being celibate.
Yeah. Yeah. But, yeah, so we get a lot of information, but then we really see the breakdown of, again, Severo and what's happened with the Suns and the terrorist organization it's become, and Darrow getting this mentality of like, he's doing what I would have done a year ago, but we can't
Yeah.
operate like that. Like, he's at least self-conscious, self-aware enough to reflect on that, but
Mm-hmm.
Severo is not yet at this moment.
Yeah, no, Severo is just a driven nuke.
Yes.
Not an arrow. He's a nuke.
He's a nuke.
Well, and even Severo himself, he's like, I tried to be you. I tried to be Pops. It didn't work. And I could just tell everybody, just wished it was me that the Jackal captured, not you.
Yeah.
Feel for the guy.
Yeah, you can definitely see
Oh, for sure.
all the cracks of self-doubt.
Yeah. Yeah, on and on. And then he's got, you say the nuke, he's holding the bombs and is threatening to blow it up so that he
threatening
can
to
take down
blow
the
up
economy, and
Phobos.
that then starts their little boy fight of like, oh,
Mhm.
brothers have got to get
Bro
it out.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so cathartic.
I don't know if that's a term where you guys are.
What is it?
What was it?
Bro scrap.
No,
Bro scrap,
I
no.
don't know. Bro scrap. That's just Saskatoon, apparently.
Saskatchewism.
Saskatchewism.
No,
That's a
Saskatchewism.
Saskatchewism.
Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I
Learning new
like
words.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sevro's trying to blow the bombs, and Daryl's like, we can't do that anymore. Chases him
Yeah.
Quick
down,
thinking
and
with the.
just about with the jammer, yeah,
Oh, the
Yeah.
jammer.
and
Yeah.
quick
Where'd you
reactions
pull that
too.
from?
Like,
Yeah,
goddamn. Well, he just had it on his belt.
sure. But just to be able
Always
to.
thorough, Reap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To.
Just like in the showers with Severo.
Yeah. I know you have one on you.
He's always got one on him.
Yeah.
He's
But
got that thing on him.
I like that it like starts with Severo trying to basically run away to get outside the field.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, he
ends
has to
up with the
try
like,
and
oh my
chase him
god,
down.
like slap, fight, headbutt,
Yeah.
like
Darrow just
everything.
about blows Severo's head off with the pulse fist.
Yes,
And
this
Severo's
is
like,
Singes his
singes
mohawk.
the mohawk.
I'm done running, and he basically flies back at Darrow and tackles him, and they end up fighting and wrestling and eating the living shit out of each other.
Yeah.
And Severo definitely gives as good as he gets.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like he almost manages to choke Darrow out. Like, we always hear about how much smaller Severo is than every other gold, and like he's just over 6 foot, and Darrow is over 7 feet tall.
Yeah. But I think we see
Like,
this at like if you go back to the Institute, we know that Severo won against Priam. We
Yep.
know he's got this scrappiness in him. He's taken down the wolf
yeah.
using his hands and teeth when they were like, what did you do? Like, he's got it in him. And this is the first time I think we really see him actually no weapons, hand to hand combat, that he can hold his own against someone who's fully trained with the best person in the like solar system. Like, Severo can hold his own.
Yeah.
Is what he gets him in like a leg lock around his neck, where he's basically on Darrow's shoulders, and then you see Darrow like trying to flip him back or whatever against the walls.
Yeah, he's spinning him around and slamming him into the bulkhead, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
like what a comedic fight to like picture happening.
Yes.
Like, there's like all over each other like ferrets. And then Darrow's like spinning him around, smashing him into walls.
I hope when we get the TV
And,
show, this is again another scene that they just do like line for line. This is the exact how it plays out. Like,
Yeah.
I'm imagining like the Wile E. Coyote like dust cloud fight.
Yes.
yeah. And then Severo,
and then Severo boots Darrow in the nards.
yeah. I was gonna say Severo kind of gets the last hit, even after they're like, okay, we're good, we're done, and then yeah.
Now we're done.
Yeah, I'm done when we say we're done.
Yeah.
And when
And
he's
then-
just like laying his head on his head on his legs or something, all sweetly.
Yeah, he's bawling.
He's bawling,
Yeah.
and it's just that moment of like they needed to get their feelings out because there's no therapy in space.
Yep,
and then
you're
we're
done.
gonna finally talk, which I like that Darrow calls it out of like the best part of our relationship is we actually talk about stuff. So let's
We don't walk on
talk about
eggshells around each other. We
yeah,
tell it like it is.
so they can actually finally have it out, and we get that them actually solving their problems. Good work, boys. Good work.
Good for you guys.
Good for you.
and then they walk back into the planning room, and they're all beat to hell. And Victor goes, "Oh, you talked."
Like Victor's like, I've been expecting this. Like,
About time, boys. Thank you.
yeah, that's been great.
And Severo, what does he say to like about Quicksilver? Now he's like, he's a son. Let's move on.
Yeah. Can we
Yeah.
move on?
Well, and they get the like, okay, so who's in charge? And Severo just goes Howler 1, and then it's Howler 2. Like,
yeah, this is the first time that Darrow gets called Howler 1.
This is the start. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny because I've been rereading these after so many years, and so I forget things, and I knew that he was Howler 1, and then we were talking about it in the den about how right now if you win the Operation Hazard Bedlam, you get a howler name, and how everyone in the den's like, well, I don't want a howler name. Like, I have a howler name. So I think it was Salem was saying, well, you can use it as a call sign. And so I was the one who was like, well, in the same way, it's like Howler 1 and Reaper. And then I had such second guesses because I wasn't yet at this part that I was like, is Darrow Howler 1 or is Pierce just Howler 1? Because Pierce refers to himself as Howler 1. And I had such a like, am I misremembering? And he's not actually Howler 1. So then we get to the scene and I was like, okay, we're fine. He is Howler 1
Because
and Reaper.
At the beginning of Morningstar, or in the first part, Victra asks, like, what has a girl got to do to get a wolf cloak? Like, didn't you found the Howlers? And Darrow goes, technically no.
Yeah, I'm like,
so Severo's always been the leader of the Howlers. It's just, now they're kind of more than just this scraggly bunch of psychos wanking in the bushes.
Yeah. But yeah, I like the boys back together. We're fine. But then we have to kind of move on to that of what's the next steps and what does that look like? Oh, we get the, like, for the Howlers, let's rip out our teeth. That's great.
Yes. Oh God, yeah.
The pliers.
Pliers, but then Ragnar just like, just like, I don't need these pliers. Yeah. I die with my friends. I will not die in a cell. I will not. Yeah.
I will not be captured again. If I die, I die with my friends.
Yeah.
Damn.
And it's a whole, like, mindset shift, too, you think, for the Howlers to go from, like, just literally having that in the back of your head to now taking out and kind of just like, all right, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
He says, the death sentence had already been given, basically, and so it's like lifting that weight from their shoulders. Like, you're not dead yet.
Yeah.
And that's not going to be how you go out.
Yeah.
Which I think is absolutely great.
Yeah. Well, if you think back things like the Iron Rain and all of that, every one of them, they're all fighting. And it's like, we're going into fighting. Never concerned about being captured or anything like that. Yeah. Taking that away.
Yeah.
Is a very good thing.
Which does actually bring in my head, so this is going back to the last part. Darrow being in the box, did he have the tooth with him the whole time that he didn't need to necessarily smash his head to commit suicide? He didn't have the tooth. No. Okay, then never mind.
No, that was.
I was like, he could have had an easy way out.
No, it was a new policy.
Oh, okay.
After he got out, like, Severo was like, okay, everybody's got Aquas 9 teeth.
Okay, then never mind, because it's like,
just in case somebody gets captured
and put in box.
Yeah, then you can't blow up the suns with knowledge.
Yeah.
No repeats of our friend Harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
I think I would still like to know the one person in the fandom who's like, no, she's justified. No. She's not even in this section and we're mad about Harmony.
If you have that opinion, let us know. And then run.
No, we want to talk first and then run. It's virtual. You're fine. We can't get to you too quickly.
I don't know. I hear Skipper knows things.
I do know things. How do you think I get...
She has a particular set of skills.
How do you think I get advanced reader copies of Lightbringer before anybody else does?
Email directly to you.
Email directly to me, yeah. So... But yeah, as we were saying, the Howlers have this weight lifted, and I feel like more bonded, we're no longer stepping on eggshells ourselves. We're a team and we know what's happening. Which leads us to the next part in which we need a full plan.
Mm-hmm. That plan's happening fast.
Yes. I greatly like the walking through the hours, hour by hour. This is happening. This
Yeah.
is happening. And then
Mm-hmm.
the okay, we are going live to all the colors, and we are going to start across the worlds.
Yeah.
You get to know that
It's
I'm
not.
back.
Yeah, and it says like this isn't like releasing like when my carving was released, where you had to like dig for it on, you know,
Mm-hmm.
back alley sites, for lack of a better term. Um, it's a scout across the entire society, and
Yeah.
then we get the Phobos address.
Mm.
I think is what the speech ends up actually called, um, when it's referenced. Not in the book, but
Oh, but
outside of
just
the book.
outside. Yeah.
Um, and this is where we learn that Mickey took Darrow's sigils off,
Yes.
which I like. That's kind of Darrow's relationship to society as a whole. He's just like, no, that it's done. We're finished with this,
Mm-hmm.
and he wants everybody to see all of the Howlers' faces, like no helmets flying through the hive, like.
Yeah, that one stuck out to me too. Is like you see these reds, oranges, obsidians, all just wearing the armor of the golds, walking
Yes.
around or flying around, whatever, right,
Yeah,
without any helmet, so everyone sees them.
yeah, yeah. We want them to see our treason.
Mm-hmm. Well, we want them to see our treason, but we also want to see that. For me, the reds, the orange, whoever can be and dress
Yeah,
alongside the golds.
yeah, exactly.
It's that element of this could be you. Like, and very moving of how it's done with starting with EO, which at this point, well, and even we didn't touch, but during the Severo Darrow part, Severo asks, do you think EO's watching over us? Do you think your dad is? And Darrow
Yeah,
knows what he needs to say in that moment, which is again, we touch on Severo's grief that he probably who's he gonna? I guess there is. I don't think we give Clown and Pebble enough credit that they are his friends from the beginning, and we're he's alone, but I'm sure at some point Sweetheart Pebble has tried to help him through this, but he hasn't he's lost his dad and his best friend for 9 months, thinking they're both dead. And his grief through that, and wanting to know, being especially half red and not knowing what the veil truly is, but probably having some idea that the reds have the veil. That relationship of do you think they're watching? And at that point, I don't think Darrow truly thinks that EO's watching over, but it flips it that he then, when he goes into that, is thinking of her, of
mm-hmm.
she is watching, and which is a different. We kind of throughout this have seen the he won't let go. She's become somebody else. Well, now she's almost his guardian angel guiding him through, as he then, for the millionth time at this point, has to watch as he grabs her feet and kills her for, but that just little relationship has kind of turned of, the acceptance that in his own that she's gone, but accepting that she might still at least be watching and she caused this whole thing. So, I don't know, I like that kind of flow throughout all of this, because we then go into seeing, and this is the first time, and I'm sure they've mentioned it, that he kisses her ankle, and this is the first time I picked up on that. But I'm
Yeah, I'm
oh,
pretty sure it's mentioned when it actually
previous.
happens.
Yeah, I don't know. It's for me, I'm oh,
But
today was the day.
I always forget too, like the time span, right, with these series of books and how far after like, kind of our time, or whatever they are. He's like talking about in his speech or his address, right? For
Yeah, for
700 years, you've
centuries.
ruled over the dominion of man. It's so much time. And now they're just, this it makes it even more impactful, right, of how big this revolution actually is. That's going to
Yeah.
be occurring here.
Yeah. So, just as a point of order, at the at the hanging in Red Rising, it says, "I rush forward to kiss her ankle. I cradle
Oh,
her legs. I will not let her suffer."
I don't know. I missed it until this moment where I was like, "Oh, cute."
Yeah,
Uh,
it's just it's a quick little thing, but
but
it is there.
but but yeah, Merlot, to your point, like it's interesting because as a bookseller, when I recommend this book, I always say, "Oh, it's 700 years in the future on Mars," but it's not. It's technically more than that because it's 700 years since the conquering, and
Yeah,
we
That's
do
right.
exactly.
not have any recollection of what from let's say 2014 when the first book came out to the conquering. We don't know if that is 100 years from where we currently are or 1,000. Like we don't know what that looks like, but it's 700 years after the conquering, so it is
Yeah.
quite a big build up.
I wonder if that's a question that Pierce has refused to ask, or refused to answer,
Or just
or
people didn't think to ask.
just hasn't been asked.
Yeah, yeah. And it's funny because, yeah, again, I'm fully aware after rereading so many times of it's not seven, but it's still my selling pitch of like 700 years in the future. And it's like, no,
Yeah.
it's not. It's probably 1,000. Like,
Yeah, exactly. Has to be enough time to genetically engineer several
yeah.
races.
Mhm. Well, and what they get to the moon, they basically build a civilization on the moon, and then the moon rebels, and that's kind of what happens. So we're
Yeah.
still a couple years away from that one,
At least one.
At
at
least
least
one
one.
year
Yeah,
before we rebel off the moon.
I
I
haven't
thought
heard
we were
any
going to
plans
Mars.
from Elon to head there yet, so we got some time.
He's too busy with Twitter right now and that. Um, but yeah, so we do get all of the colors now at this point, listening to his epic speech and arming themselves. And
There it is.
there's the lick. There's the
There it is.
lick.
I saw it in real life.
You saw it in real life. Oh my god, full
IRL
bottle.
2.
I spilled a little bit, so I can't waste it.
Oh. We need to find you bottles that pour better or like a funnel
Or
or
I just need to be
something.
better at pouring.
Yeah, because I have
But
never. Mine are always like you'll see. Mine still has the like special release seal, and it is perfectly dry.
I mean,
I
like
opened my seal today and I cut my thumb. I
mine's
got like a sealed sealed
Oh
paper
no!
cut.
oh
The
my god.
scotch betrayed you.
I was like, well,
The other
this is
thing too is
embarrassing.
like I'm pouring it into a glass with a
Yeah.
much smaller opening.
Yeah. That's fair. Um, but yeah, so we get the epic speech, and you know the call to arms that is both a like you need to rebel, you need to stand up, but also a like we are going to attempt to do this in a civilized manner, right? Like we are not
And that
like
lasts about that long.
"Ugh," but like it full out calls out of like if someone rapes someone you will kill them, like
Yep.
we are not standing
If
for
you
that,
kill
like
civilians, you die.
yeah,
High or low color.
yeah, like this is
Yeah,
not what it is.
we're fighting a war, but you're on the side of good.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, which does
And then
well, I was gonna say it gets into. I feel like Pierce is very good about reflecting back historically on wars in past, and the attempt to stay civilized on both sides, and we depending on which war we're talking about. Um, World War II, especially, we know there is a bad guy versus a good guy in that one, but the good guys didn't always make this like the correct call. Like we've seen that in the bombing of Dresden. We see that in quite a few things that the British Allies didn't always make the right call because they were mad. They got anger. You reflect
or like
back.
the atomic bombs.
Yeah, 100%. And like it's harder when then you get into muddier areas of like World War One, where there isn't as clear of a good guy versus a bad guy. They're all kind of gray area, but definitely it's like, listen, we're doing this for the right reasons, but we got to do it well. But war, war is war, and I mean we, as the two Canadians, always make comments about how the Geneva Convention actually contains more things done by Canadians than any other country, because it's not a war crime if you did them first. But the Canadians have
it's not
always,
a war crime the first time.
Yeah, but we always are that like, no, we're always on the good side, but the good side does make mistakes and needs to own up to that. And that's what we're seeing in this moment of Darrow saying like, we are the good guys, you're not going to make these mistakes. And immediately it's like, and mistakes have been made. This was not going to be clean.
It's maybe not mistakes, but he says basically I abandon the notion that this war will be sanitary.
Yeah. So.
And then we get Ragnar leading and taking the spire.
Yes.
Now the world's watch a slave become a hero.
Yeah.
Love that. That's why he says among them 2 feet taller than the others. 2 just standing.
Yeah.
Here's the kids. Here's Ragnar.
Yeah, literally head and shoulders above.
Yeah.
And then we find out that he ends up killing Priam's mother.
That's right. This is the first reference back to Priam.
Yeah. And so he's taken over the tower and meets Darrow in the hangar and brings him the stains of this woman, and he tosses the rod to Darrow, and he reflects on how like, oh, there's someone I recognize on here. And Ragnar kind of asks him, did you know him? He's like, yeah, I went to school with him basically, and he was a decent enough sort. And Ragnar says, decent is not enough. And I'm like,
yeah. And then breaks it over his
yeah, and leaves the blood, like, and he can't
get rid of it. Yeah.
Like, and I think that's a pretty good metaphor. Like, you can't wipe your hands clean, regardless of how good your intentions.
Yeah.
And then we get the big one.
The big one.
Mustang in the hangar.
That's another scene I want to see. Just getting ready to take off, and you see this
just the single
one person just standing right there in front of your giant spaceship, ready to go.
Well, and like I just like the idea that the spaceship fully has headlights. Like, what is those headlights doing in space? Like, I don't. I mean, I'm not science.
Still transmit in space.
I guess, but like, they're not going to go far. What do you need them for? They're not going to go far. Like, they're not going to find you the next asteroid that's nearly going to hit you. Like, but
she's probably mostly for docking.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Logistics.
Come on, Blue.
Sailboats have 2 lights. Leave me alone. The blue one or the red one and the green one.
Is the same color.
The green one. They're not even light.
To be fair, we do have docking lights as well. Okay, that's bad on me.
Yeah.
But we get her.
What do we pay you for?
Is he your nickname, Skipper?
It's fine. Like, become first mate or something lower. It's fine.
Deckhand. Reinworn.
Let's be serious. That is, I am more a deckhand than anything else when I sail. It's fine. But yeah, we get to not deflect from me being incorrect about sailing.
Changing the topic very quickly.
Moving along. Mustang there, and you get her standoff against an entire ship, and Darrow really trying to call her bluff, and I'm gonna sail through you, and she's just like, no, you're not.
The fuck you are.
Yeah, she's so smart. I love it.
Oh my god.
She
She's the
knows
best.
exactly what's going on, where they're going, what he's doing. She's like, "Yep,
Yeah,
we got
Darrow's
this.
like,
got
you
this.
have
You're
no
going. You're
idea
doing
where
this."
we're even going.
Yeah.
She's like,
And she's just
And he's just like,
"Frere, mon frere."
shit.
which is the moment we discover. So we have the one line that somebody let Kavix out, and then this is when it's like, well, you let Ragnar let Kavix go, and Darrow's like,
Darrow like turns and looks, and Ragnar's like eating chocolate.
and then that's the moment of
Ragnar thing.
Mustang's like, oh my god, you didn't even know that. Like,
The fact that Mustang sticks by his side through all this, you're this man. Put a ring on it, Darrow. Hurry up.
oh my god, for sure. I feel like through all of this, like everything that goes down, you just have Mustang sitting there being like, can we, like, I just need someone intelligent to talk to. Like, just
Find her a better man, please. Anyone.
somebody beyond my level. Yeah. But
I did like that Pierce did that for Ragnar. Like in these chapters, I feel like you get so much Ragnar like actually getting to express and talk and like share his intents and opinions like that. You're like, oh yes, you can see the tide changing from a slave to a real, warrior.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, leading, being the one who kind of divides the Darrow versus Severo, right? Like he's the one in that moment who's like, "Okay, I will make the call of who I back," and then taking
We're not
the
leaving these
agency
people
here,
behind.
which does go back to when we're in the mines with Mustang, the kind of last real conversation with Mustang is because Darrow, like Ragnar, the whole time is like, "Darrow, you're making stupid decisions. I'm gonna make this for you," right?
Yeah.
And which then is
Yeah, what's he
interesting
say?
that he's the one that lets her back.
A man thinks he can fly, but he's afraid to jump. A poor friend pushes him from behind. A good friend jumps with.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, because
Yeah,
Ragnar right
that's
now
really
is putting himself in danger as well.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Mustang decides to, to bring the Aja and Cassius and all the Sovereign's forces, Ragnar's just as dead as Darrow is. Like,
Yeah.
no coming back from that one.
Yeah. He's just got that trust that, you know what, like, and Ragnar and I guess Ragnar and Mustang have a bit of time together, but I was gonna say it's more Ragnar knows Mustang because of Darrow and this mentality of like, he trusts her, so I will trust her. And in this moment, we need to call back what you once had. Which is huge for the Obsidian because we know a few chapters after this that they are polygamists. They, do not truly believe in that bond of two people. And for him to go, no, this is the one who's going to set Darrow straight. Like, that's a huge...
Yeah.
And then you get...
Though, I will say, it does say Obsidian women are polygamous.
This is true.
So...
Yes.
So that may not be,
That's
strictly
true for
speaking, true on the male side, but yes, I definitely agree with you. And then immediately after Ragnar being super trusting of Mustang, we get to see both Holiday and Victra being like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like, we don't trust her." And like Victra even says, "You're making a mistake."
Yeah. Well, Holiday says she's worse than Victra in terms of entitlement. And then we get the phone call from Victra in which Victra is like, what is this nonsense? Like, which is interesting on the Victra part of like not self-reflecting. Of like, dude, everything you're talking about is also you. Like...
Yeah, why is it so hard to believe that Mustang would be on our side if you're not? Like, if you are.
Yeah.
Do you imagine the box? Well, she didn't get the box; she got the cell. But the cell probably changed her, put her more a little in her mind on Darrow's level, where she's
Yeah.
not as kind of separate from the golds a little bit.
Yeah, that's very true. And we haven't seen what Mustang has gone through yet, so we don't know.
Mm.
And Victor definitely doesn't know. And Victor and Mustang never got along. Like, that's the interesting thing in all
No.
of this is, like, even back in Golden Sun, there's, they're, I wouldn't say rivals, but they're not on the same page. And I think the only true time that they're kind of joking with each other is just before the Iron Rain, when you get all the voices coming in on the intercom. That's only one of I forget. I think if it's Victra says, I think Victra says something, and then Mustang makes the joke in return. And then up until now, well, and even now, they're still at odds. Like, we at all times just see that, like, they're not interacting. They want nothing to do with each other, and it's almost a case of so similar but different, of like similar upbringings, except for I would call one new money and one old money. Like, one's the ruling class versus the money class, but it's still that, like, raised privileged, like, gold, but can't figure out, like, you can't trust the other one because you shouldn't trust, and it's like, you're the same. You are the same.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you kind of see that with Victor too in these last, like when they were back on Phobos, or I guess there's on Phobos, when she's like looking around and seeing like the Julia Industries
Yes.
logos on things, and you kind of feel like she's probably having a moment like, oh shit, this is my fault, my family's
Yeah.
fault.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But
Do you also like this?
Something. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say the Mustang quote in this, where she's like, "But you have something to prove to me that you were worthy of my trust." Because like this whole time you're like, Mustang can't be trusted. Mustang can't be trusted, and she's like, actually, you, my friend.
yeah,
need
you've
to
kind
go.
of been lying
Yeah.
to me for 4 years while we've been in this like, right? Like, they've been in a relationship. Yeah, 3 years now.
Yeah. Or
It's 4.
because the
Well,
year of the institute, part
yeah.
of the year of the institute, the 2 years after the or before the academy, and then
Then
the
you take a
academy,
break, but then
and then the year off
yeah, you get
while he's in the box.
we're back and forth, but either way, he fully knows who she is and everything to do with her. She lays it all out for him whenever whenever he asks, and he's always the one that is holding back and withholding information. And so yeah, like, from Mustang's perspective, like, Bud, you're the one who's been lying to me, not the other way around. Like, let's think
Especially
this
too, like
through.
after he just got the whole story from Kavix on what she was doing, all this, and he's still like, oh, maybe though, she's probably still with Jackal or Cassius.
Yeah, she might have my entire army and letting Orion, like, fully control a ship, but, like,
Yeah.
ah, Bud, get it together.
Eventually.
Eventually. But we do get right after this, the, like, first kind of laying the hints of that, like, sexual tension of, like, they say there's like 20 seats on the ship, and she sits directly next to him.
Right next to him.
And then while
Such a
trying to put
power
her
move.
seatbelt on, accidentally touches his hip. Right? Like, like, you get that, like, oh god, we can't, like, oh.
Will they, won't they?
Oh no, what's happening? Yeah.
I always read this just as like Mustang just like kind of fucking with him. Just like, yeah, we're here. We have a relationship. Like
Yeah.
Darrow's such a giddy little boy.
Yeah.
I think I like the last thing she says basically before they get on the ship is like, what do you think, Reaper? Want to give it one more try?
Yeah.
Very cheeky.
Yeah. Which then, yeah, on the ship we get, well, that's the phone call with Victra, but them departing, attempting to look like they are golds fleeing in the night, and you get some really cool scenes of what the other golds look like as they're also on these luxury yachts, like fleeing and
It's chaos.
the chaos
Yeah,
and like
and you
Gold
see,
committing suicide. Like it's deep
yeah,
of some of it.
well, and basically one ship tries to, I don't know if it's like run the blockade, but they get too close to a capital ship. They're like, you'll be fired upon, and they get closer, and to nobody's shock, they're fired upon and destroyed. It's like, oh, everybody listens after that.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
Yikes.
Awkward. Yeah. But I just like that. There was a sailing moment for me of like the mall going off. And one is described, and you get Mustang saying, like, that woman taught me to paint. She taught me watercolors. And it's like, yeah, them all sailing off as they're disguised. And then it's Mustang who's the smart one and realizes they're being followed. And it's like, what is that? Well, it's another pleasure craft. They don't move that fast. They don't do this.
And then
like,
there's guns.
what are you doing?
Yeah.
And then suddenly there's guns, and suddenly they have to dive bomb as fast as they can. And
Yeah, that's something I've kind of always wondered is like, they're doing everything right. How how'd they know?
Do you think they knew what Quicksilver's ship was? Because they take Quicksilver's ship, right? And so Cassius knew they jumped in with Quicksilver. Maybe that's like the connection, or
Yeah, maybe. But
yeah,
like
because maybe in Cassius'
they
mind,
still
it's like,
don't
why
they still
would
don't know
you
that
release?
Quicksilver has gone over.
sure, yeah.
Yeah, but they know that. No, does Cassius doesn't know it's the Sons of Ares that were in the, or do that?
No.
Right.
Cassius, I think he had run out of the room because
Yeah.
Victra chased him, and she says, "Your boyfriend's gotten faster."
He leaves first, kind of, right? Of everyone in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's true.
Yeah,
He
well,
really
and
wouldn't know.
he's one of few that are left. That's basically Cassius and Mustang
Yeah.
that leave there intact on the gold side.
Yeah. Yeah, so we get the crash.
Yeah, we get Ragnar shooting down Cassius
Before
and
the
Aj's
crash,
ship. Yeah, with a shoulder-mounted missile while crashing. Like,
what's the
Arrow's
writing
like,
on it?
there was a missile signature coming from the back of our ship, but we don't have missiles. And Ragnar's like, I did that.
Just so proud of himself.
Yeah, and Darrow talks about how there's laughter coming from the back of the ship as they're crashing, and it's like, unbelievably loud, and it's just, no, that's Ragnar cackling in the face of death.
Yeah.
Again.
Just yelling to Odin, tell him we're coming to kill him.
But that's it. He's like, Odin thinks we're coming to kill him, so Odin is trying to take us down. Like, I just love that he's like, the old gods do not exist, but also the old gods are trying to kill us. It's like, what?
Yeah.
Where are we with this? Like, yeah. Oh my god. Which then we get the under the ice, and you get the exact, that telepathic messaging between Darrow and Mustang of like, all right, Razor's out, we're gonna cut our way out, and they don't actually have to talk. It's just like,
well, they do talk about how they're communicating with like Lurcher Squad signals, like military hand signs.
Yeah, but it's still this.
That's part of it. But
all
also,
right, we've got this. We're both on the same, right? Like, shove your razor up, figure it out.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of open water? Because that scene terrified me.
Oh.
Swimming, when they left the ship and they're swimming up, and he's like, there's things below me, and I'm just swinging at him with my razor. I'm just like, oh, no.
Merlot's just sweating.
Swim faster. Yeah. Just like, please swim faster, Darrow. Come on. Because you know that water is like, it's a dark, dark blue. So you're just in there and you can't see anything. And then with the ice, it's like a gray color. He says at the very top when they finally get there. He almost knocks himself unconscious when he
Yes.
hits the ice.
Yeah.
And Mustang's like, calm down, homie. You're good.
Yeah. Another look. Yeah, well, and then, that's it. Is Mustang puts his hand, like, underwater even, like, hand on the back. You're gonna be okay. We're gonna make this, like, happen. And they get out first. And then Holiday gets out.
Yeah.
And Holiday's
I kind of
shoot off Darrow's leg.
Yeah, I didn't remember that Holiday shoots her way out of the ice with a pulse fist.
Yeah.
Like that.
She's off by herself.
That scene. Yeah, she's I don't know, 70 meters away or something.
Yeah.
She's like, there's something down there with Ragnar.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Darrow goes to go in and she's gonna shoot his leg out.
Well, this is it. Is it? There's a
Ragnar's
callback.
not the mission. You are.
You are. I was gonna say it's the callback to when Trig dies. Of he's not the mission. You are. And then again, it's Darrow. Ragnar is not the mission. You are. And it's that like over and over her like mentality of like you just need to keep Darrow alive.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't pick up on that. That's a good one. Sad.
Very sad.
Because anybody who's not the mission.
See you later. Also, like the probably grief she's just then immediately experiencing, just being like, "No, we can't do this again. You're staying right here, guy."
You're freaking.
And yet again, Mustang comes to save the day.
Yeah, Mustang's like, "Well, screw you guys. Like, I'm not the mission."
Yeah,
either.
like before either of them can even react. Yeah, she's just like, "Oh, well, I'm in."
Yeah, Mustang's like, "I'm not the mission. Whatever."
She run off with a flare in her.
Yes.
Yeah, a flare and a razor.
Flare and the razor.
Yeah.
So
And this is immediately after Darrow said like swimming with a flashlight would attract things from deeper. Ragnar wouldn't dare. And Mustang's
like, fuck it.
Hold my beer.
Fuck you.
Hold my beer.
Yeah, hold my beer indeed.
Yeah.
You want to know, because, right, they come out of the ice then. She finally, like, finds her, comes out of the ice, and they're like, these things are with us, but then there's something bigger down there.
Yeah.
I want to know what else is down
there.
there.
It's the Kraken.
It's the sea demon.
Yeah.
Which does
the sea demon with the perforated rectum.
Yes. Well, I was going to say, so, Merlot, you would not have watched last week's episode because it went live 2 hours before we're recording this. And so we touched a lot on the sea demon just because I was drinking the Kraken rum. And the mentality that Ragnar has of like, there's a sea demon. It was a sea demon. Now we kind of harp back like we are in his territory now. And clearly there is something in there that they have probably for, hundreds of years told the story of like, don't go in the water. There's a sea demon. And now we get probably where his mentality
now we know why.
Now we know why he has this like, there's a sea demon.
Well, when they come out with a maggot-sized creature the size of a small man.
Yeah, a man-sized. Oh, good.
With shaped like a snail in full sprint, with hairy, translucent flesh mottled with dozens of shrieking little mouths, needle teeth gnawing at her back. Like, I'd be terrified to go in the water.
It's like a leech on leech steroids.
But even so much more than that.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, that's horrible.
Leeches are probably my one thing. Well, I don't know. Piranhas, but I'm never, I don't think, going to swim anywhere with piranhas. But leeches are my one thing that, like, when swimming, I'm like, is there going to be leeches? Like, I don't, because they are prevalent near where I am. If you're in the smaller lakes.
Yes, me too. As well.
I don't think piranhas are in Canada.
Piranhas get a bad rep. Sidebar, piranhas get a bad rep. They're not man-eaters. They typically go for dead flesh. I had to teach my daughter that one.
So I can swim with them? My wife was
trying to scare her about piranha. Yeah. There's who was it? No, there really is. There's It's like an old Discovery Channel show. It's like a man versus fish kind of thing, and he goes out to find monster fish. And in one of them, he goes and he sits in this like kiddie pool or something, full of just piranhas, and they're just chilling around him. Because if you're not right, they go for injured animals or dead animals, and that's what they carve up in
Interesting.
their own way.
Yeah,
Which
blood or
is
dead flesh.
which is also the shark thing. Like sharks don't actually want to kill humans. They just happen to be the garbage trucks of the sea and will eat whatever they think is dying. Or get
Yeah,
confused for
and
seals.
it just so happens that humans swimming look like
Seals
injured
usually.
sea life.
Yeah.
Just take a quick bite, see if I like this thing.
Yeah. Is this
Hello.
what I want? But
Nope.
to get back on
Yeah,
topic.
get back.
Leeches
Yeah,
and whatever they're dealing with right now, because I want to know, is it like the Greenland shark? Because if right, like they're in the polars of Mars, you're assuming they're basing their creatures off the polars of Earth, and the only thing I can think of that exists is the Greenland shark would be up there. But also, we know there is mythological creatures, so who knows what the carvers just decided to dump in there.
Gotta feed your sea
Insanity.
Demon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then immediately after that, we get a bunch of interaction with. I mean, it's not really meaningful interaction, but interaction with the eaters.
Yeah, the cannibals.
Yeah, like Darrow gets his face eaten.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
It was
Mustang
graphic.
gets. Oh God. Yeah, Mustang takes an arrow like in the collarbone region.
I have a thing
Grizzly
about
sucking noise they hear as they're walking up to the ship.
Yeah, it's like my time at the Institute taught me what the sound of teeth on raw flesh sounds like. Like, that's horrible.
Yeah, why did you learn that? Oh wait, we remember.
Well, they had to eat raw goat, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Adrius learned about what teeth on raw
I was
humans
gonna
sounds
say,
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and then
You're
it's
welcome
also
for
like
that.
Thank you so much.
when he finally sees him too, it's like that one he sees. He's like, it has a crooked iron blade sewn into his hand, and human bones strung around together with tried tendon as a breastplate. Like I read that and I immediately was like, oh, like Lord of the Rings orcs vibe coming out of the earth, just
That's
like
a
these
good
creatures.
Yeah. Yeah. Good call on that one. Oh, yeah.
And then we get a nice little reprieve. Get a sweet little I don't even know what I want to call that. In the down ship, they
Like
weld the door
feast.
shut, and and Holiday
It's
makes them a
chill.
feast of pasta and sausage.
Yeah.
And he's on like 3 helpings of it or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mustang actually ends up sharing about her mother,
Yes.
and this is kind of when Holiday flips on Mustang. He was super not for Mustang coming with them, and Darrow talks about how during this conversation he watches Holiday look at Mustang in a different light.
Well, because this conversation, like, it struck me of Darrow says that with him and Mustang and whatever we've decided 4-year relationship, she has never talked about her mother, and immediately is kind of in that like Holiday,
and
like don't
he says
go
I've
there.
never cried. Yeah.
And Mustang clearly coming forward of like, no, the woman you see is not my mother, that's my stepmother. And going into that detail of, you know, the like miscarried child, and you know what that means, and the mother being, we don't know. I don't think Mustang believes that her mom has actually died on the cliff, but that like mentality of, you know, no, she's not around, and she, was sent away because another child issue. Like, that's the whole thing with Nero, is he has ongoing, like, you're gonna set the jackal, Adrius, on a thing to be culled. Like, you're obsessed with your oldest son. You don't, well, he clearly just doesn't like women because he just writes Mustang out from the beginning. And then this next child, that it's like the trauma that Mustang has growing up with that, as well as, like, I just feel like the way she talks about, like, yeah, they claim she fell off a cliff. And it's like, you don't believe that. You probably believe either your mom left and never came back, or that your dad got your mom killed, is, in my head, the two options.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely of the belief that Mustang doesn't believe her mother's dead. I don't really believe she's dead.
Ooh.
I mean, like,
you think she's alive?
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, like, would you want to be married to Nero?
Well, no.
But when you've got, I mean, I don't have kids, but I feel like when you have kids, you end up. But though, maybe if you feel like they're safe enough, you will disappear. But I feel like a lot of people stick into relationships because you want to protect the kids. You want to do something for the kids. But what's the stay together for the kids? There's the song. Yeah. But yeah, so we get all of that very interesting thing, which.
And it kind of explains a lot, if you think about it, with like Idris, why he probably is the way he is, Mustang, right? Why she's so independent, right? Having to basically carry the family, like always kind of looking out for Idris and the jackal, throughout that. Because then you have friggin' Nero just being a misogynist, doing whatever he wants, kind of in the background, ignoring both his children, and then trying to find other kids to replace his kids throughout this whole process.
Yeah. Yeah, he's collecting heirs, basically, or tried, I should say.
Adrius helped stop that one.
On multiple accounts, yeah.
Yeah,
that is very screwed up. And again, like, Mustang's there the whole time and could be the heir, but is just totally discounted by her father.
and by every single right could be the heir. Like,
yeah, should 100%. Well, and we have this goes back to the Institute of why did he back the jackal so hard?
Yeah.
And not even at any moment think, oh, but my daughter is in there as well.
Yeah, like he tried to kill Adrius on the rocks, and then backs Adrius over Mustang at the Institute.
Yeah. I also just keep going back to
Nero.
Yeah, Nero. And this will I will attempt to not make this one of my feminist rants, but in this world we see that for the most part the Golds see men and women as even. Especially if you look at, let's say, the Julii, that it is a very strong female-run family, and they have no issue with it as a very strong female. Like, all the other families, as we go through even the Bologna, like, it looks like it's mostly men, but it's the mom who is controlling the scene, and then Cagney, I think, is the only female cousin, but is spoken well, high, like at the same level as her cousins. Like, we see this across the board. We have a female sovereign, but Nero cannot get over that he needs a male heir. And it's like, where does that come from? Because you think that 700 to 1,000 years in the future, we should be even. And Nero is still the one, even though it doesn't make sense in the society, who continues to hold on to this mentality of, I need a male heir. And like, we see in Golden Sun when Mustang points out to all the other women in the room of like, the way he's treating me right now, you should take notice because he's treating everybody. And it just then harps back to like his treatment of the wives. So he's got 3. The one he like instantly kills, and it's used for political gain. And like I feel like political gain with the golds, I will remove whatever. But Mustang's mother provided you 3 children, but the 4th is an issue, so she's gone for whatever reason. And then the 3rd, I don't think we ever actually hear about this other woman until
We literally
this
don't even
moment.
learn their name.
Yeah. And so she
I mean,
is
granted,
just...
we don't learn any of his wives' names, but...
No, but she's just existing for, like, it's just, to me, very standout of Nero's treatment of women in comparison to
Oh, yeah.
anyone else in this whole series, almost. Like, he is the one who is...
Well, it makes you wonder if knowing, like, he just basically let Mustang, right, go off and hang out with the Telemanuses seemingly her entire childhood. If he was just, like, hoping, take her off my hands, marry her, right, to one of your sons, whatever, right, to kind of allow me to focus on my male heir kind of thing, if that was just his hope that whole time.
Yeah. And then he just...
Yeah, honestly, that's probably a pretty decent idea.
Yeah.
Or, you know, not necessarily a decent idea, but like that's probably a good thought.
Yeah.
That's probably accurate is
Yeah.
I guess the word I'm looking for.
And then just backfired that she was already strong and independent to begin with. And then the Telemanuses we see, like we get in Golden Sun where they're like, don't worry, I've called my wife and daughter. Like, and we get over and over that the Telemanuses are like, it's cool, we'll bring the women into war. I'm okay with it. Yeah. Like, and it's like she was then raised in a family that's like, no, the women are equal. So it's just an interesting call out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then immediately after our little feast, we start hunting golds.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why Holiday waits so long to try and shoot Aja, but literally like half a second sooner.
Yeah.
As soon as
half
she
a second
stepped out.
Yeah. She takes off her mask, and we know who it is now, and it should just be done.
Yep.
But she lets Aja have her little chat with Darrow, and then Cassius is like, my elf eyes see Holiday and saves Aja's life.
Yeah.
I was hoping you would. Yeah, and that causes problems.
Yeah. Well, Darrow picks up on it first, though, because he says she's got Lauren's razor. So first, Lauren, but knows who it is. But then the reveal happens.
Yeah, Darrow knows who it is because she has the razor.
Yeah.
And then basically to make her take her mask off so that Holiday can know.
Yeah.
Because I don't think Holiday would... I mean, Holiday... There's a pretty decent chance, like, that razor's the one that killed Trig. There's a pretty decent chance that she'd be like, I got this. Yeah. But I mean, like, obviously there's a pretty good reason why Pierce didn't just write in that Aja gets her head blown off.
It's nice it would have been for us.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it would have saved us from some trauma, but...
I just don't always feel like Pierce has our best interests in mind.
I don't... Oh, okay. I'm going to bring up something that was said...
Best interests in mind.
I'm going to... When we hit chapter 30, something that came up in the den today, and I was like, woo! Stealing that one. But basically, yes, that, like, Pierce at all times is just looking to hurt us. But we'll talk about that in a moment.
We're pretty much talking chapter 30 here, because there's not a whole lot that goes on. Okay. Like, we hear that, like, Aja basically no longer views Darrow as human.
Yep.
She calls him Ruster, Abomination. So he's not even worth talking to.
Yeah.
And and then we get the 4-way fight between Darrow and Ragnar and Aja and Cassius, and they almost kill each other in the first half second. And then, Cassius beats Darrow, and he's gonna die if Mustang doesn't shoot him. And Cassius is like, no, Mustang won't shoot.
Right through the throat.
Yeah, right through the throat. Oh, so brutal.
Yeah. I remember
And
reading that the first
then-
time in that one, I was just like,
God.
oh, he's done.
Yeah.
He's so
Yeah.
done right now.
Oh, did Cassius just died? Yeah.
So
And
this is something we didn't like just to halt for half a second of the Mustang Cassius. This is where it is Mustang from the beginning, and you get harped on the fact that you have to remember that Mustang and Cassius had a relationship of some
Yeah.
element, as much as from Mustang's stance is political. Cassius, we probably get the vibe he was actually into her, but it is
absolutely.
she is the one who identifies his handwriting. There's like throughout this that we get that Mustang's like, it's Cassius because of this, it's Cassius because of this, and you get that they were, I feel like, more intimate than the reader really put odds on, because as we see it, she suddenly shows up at the gala with him, and then we learn, oh, it's, it was political. But this is for me, the scenes where it's like she was intimate enough to know kind of his inner thinkings and different elements that Darrow doesn't. Like that it's Darrow's not picking up on these things because you didn't spend the time with him that Mustang is. So then to have Mustang like clearly choosing the like, I'm gonna fire on this person, well, we don't get her point of view because we only at this point get Darrow's point of view, but like the no remorse of like, I'm not looking back. Like it's just for me a very interesting.
Yeah, well, I think
she's
it's
like sprinting to him.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting that Cassius is like in the middle of saying like, "You won't shoot me."
Which again holds
miscalculated.
Well, I think he probably is still, we had a thing. We could go back to it, not because I assume that at no time during this, can you imagine Mustang calling him, being like, just so you know, all my actions were political and I didn't actually like you. Like, I don't think they had a real breakup. I think that the gala happened and they just never talked again. Like, that's
on
not
his
a
true
breakup.
dolphin self, he's not even thinking for a second he ever lost her.
100%.
Oh, she's still mine. I got you.
She's coming back. After this meeting with Quicksilver, she's totally mine. You're right. 100% his dolphin self is like, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, she's not going to fire on me. She's not going to choose this red over me. Like, we're good. But, yeah, it's just an interesting, and then, like, nope. She's shooting to kill.
I did notice the throughout this, Darrow, every time, he always calls from back at the tower through this, like when Cassius falls like inches from him, eye to eye there or whatever, he's always referring to him as his old friend.
Yeah.
And always like kind of makes you like, I want, like he still wants
Darrow,
like he's still
Darrow
like,
is
there's a piece
desperate.
of him. I want to be his friend.
He's
Thunder and
desperate
lightning
to
get us
have
back
Cassius
together.
come
Thunder
back.
and lightning.
Yeah.
Can we just pause for a second because the dogs are being so adorable?
I guess we can. Come here.
Your dogs love you. Mine both ditched me.
I just keep watching them over at you guys.
Come here.
Sorry. I'm like, look at the ghost dogs that come in and out.
Oh, hello. Always
Who's that?
monster dogs.
This is Bentley.
Bentley.
No, you can't come all the way up. You can just be like that. You're too big.
He's a lap dog, Dad.
Oh, absolutely, he is. What are you doing? Come in.
Yeah. Oh.
And this is Aspen.
Hi, Aspen.
There it is. Doggy breaks.
Hold it
Yeah.
out.
we need those dogs in a second to relieve our stress and sadness.
Pass one out, hold it.
Where did my cats go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so we get Caspius, because that's my
Prince Caspius, yeah.
Yeah, Caspian. Well, we were going on about him in the den today. One of my other boyfriends that I have. But yeah, Cassius is shot through the throat. And they now, at this point, we know Mustang's off to the side with the full bow and arrow. Which I just love. I'm like, how many skills does she have? Obsidian bow and arrow. And how many skills does she have that she's like, new weapon, cool. I already learned this one.
Yeah, how many skills does she have? The answer is yes.
Yes. Well, and I think they say, I was trying to find it because I was trying to guess how far away they are when they're shooting, and she's like 50 meters or something away when she fires that bow. Right.
Yeah, that's a fucking wild shot.
Yeah.
Especially, like, this is not a compound bow. Like, it's literally just
for an 8-foot, 9-foot human.
Yeah, it's just horns.
So, I feel like people are always like, why is there a target over your head? This is because the one time I did archery, it just hangs out there. And that would have been 5 meters? No, less than 20 feet. 20 to 25 feet is how far I stood away. And how hard it was that, like, they were not going straight, right? Like, you had to learn to shoot high so that they arched down. And she's now 10 times what I was doing. And it's like, yep.
And
hit it.
And hits him in the throat.
Yeah.
Hits him in the throat.
Like a wide area.
Yeah. Like.
Body mass, where you're going to go right through the throat.
Yeah.
I love that we're just avoiding going to the next part of this.
Oh, yeah, this is...
Let's talk more about archery, guys. I did it one time. All right. Well,
all right, rip the Band-Aid off. They race to the cliff.
Yeah, Darrow can see Ragnar lose
finessed
well before it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tragic, to say the least.
I feel like that whole fight, though, like from the beginning,
like
you're just like, Aja's got him. Like, there's nothing. She's just working him.
Yeah.
Well, like, I don't know. Like, Pierce writes it really, really well. Like, Ragnar has a chance.
Mm-hmm.
But then he talks about how, you know, all of the blood is coming from Ragnar.
Yes.
But then it's, you know, he's beating Aja down, like, and she's bending away from Ragnar like a willow. And
yes.
And that's kind of like when the curtain drops and it's like, oh, this is game over.
Mm-hmm.
And Darrow's like, I see it happen, like, well before it does. Mustang doesn't know yet, and he tells her to shoot them, like, and she's like, they're too close. He's like, I don't care. Like, getting shot by an arrow is probably not gonna kill him. Aja fucking will. Yeah, and then you know, his rage and his athleticism has carried him through every other opponent. But this is the greatest student of Lornau Arcos, and you know, Ragnar has spent his whole life training with the solid blade, and he's never had a razor master to teach him about the whip, and that exact thing is his undoing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we get the longest conversation in the book, or what feels like the longest conversation in the book. And it's all feels all day.
Well, and it's because she could have killed him, but she chose not to.
She wants him to suffer.
His stomach open, and then stabs him twice in the lower gut.
Yeah. So she wants him to
suffer. And then
suffer.
dips the fuck out. Yeah.
Down a crevice. Bye. Expect me.
Ooh.
Great. It's a great throw in there.
So the title of this episode is "Expect Me to Electric Boogaloo."
Oh, yeah. It's gonna
Um,
have to be now.
Yeah. It is what it is.
But yeah, we get.
Yeah. Oh.
It's his first words.
And then the book
"Jesus
ends
asked
happily, and
someone
Ragnar
else."
lives.
Yeah.
And
And yeah, I liked that
He
was a
recovers
discussion.
from all his wounds.
That was a discussion
Yeah,
today in the
exactly.
den of like, I wish I could go back and pretend it didn't happen and then ask Pierce to rewrite as if Ragnar is still there. And what would that look like? And it is interesting because we know the hat deaths, like Pax, is I think at this point the only hat death. And there is ones later where it's like Pierce is random. But this is a clear... Pierce knew from the beginning that this would be a death. This is... but the discussion I referenced earlier is, I think it was Arctic, who is our Winter Soldier lover, said something along the lines of like, well, if it wasn't Ragnar, it would probably have been somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if Pierce... And it's not a hat death, but we're too far into... We know a giant war has started. And to be fair, we don't know what is happening with Sevro, Victra, the Howlers, whatever. Maybe they're all dead. But in the scenes we're getting, it's been too long before a death. So somebody kind of had to go. And it is just... Ragnar...
Yeah, it's been a whole book.
A moderately friendly giant had to prove that war is real, like grief is real, death is real, and we are not immortal, which is why personally I like these books, that it's like nobody has plot armor.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
when you get so much good foreshadowing, then if you like look back immediately in this book, just back to Quicksilver's tower, like...
Well, okay.
We probably should have seen it coming.
So
He did
we
set
need
us up
to go
for it.
back to, and maybe I will insert the clip here.
Ragnar, I think it's Pax come again.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
And it was just like, oh.
Pax.
But I'm also like looking at this, I'm thinking to myself, like, that seems sus. Hella sus. Hella sus. And then
wait, hold on.
Why?
Which part seems sus to you?
What seems sus? I can't tell people because of spoilers.
Oh, okay. We'll talk after.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just it's genuinely heartwarming, but I also take it to be like, think of it like when he was just like, I like Trig. I hope Trig and Holiday live.
Wow. Yeah, we're cutting this piece right here. Or I'll bleep it out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is gone.
Yeah.
And so that had to be cut from last episode for spoiler reasons. And now we're seeing it of like, there is definitely foreshadowing of him calling out to his gods and what does the veil look like and all of that. And it's just, I mean, it doesn't make it easier that we now look back and go, oh yeah, you kind of told us it was coming, but it doesn't make it easier.
No. It's just called denial because we didn't want it to come.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Denial is the first
if
level of grief.
Yeah, if I don't read this chapter, does it actually happen?
It does
Just
not.
Unfortunately, the beginning of the next chapter is I wake and the first thing I think of is Ragnar's gone.
Okay, well, we'll cut that sentence, and then he's just living his best life. He's living his best life somewhere in the Arctic.
Chilling on a beach, an Arctic beach.
Yeah, this is fine. We're fine. It's okay.
But yeah, oh my god. We get emotional damage.
He finally
I will
cries.
build a house for you in the Vale next to mine. Come to us, or come to me when you die.
And
Rush, because I am no builder.
at this point, we get that the sound is coming in, and he's looking up.
Yeah,
And
Safi.
the quiet arrives.
Mm-hmm. You
Safi
see what
the
Aja was
quiet.
looking at.
Yeah. Yeah, we see the reason that Aja dipped out.
And so we get like a double. Not only is our favorite character dying, but there is an ongoing sibling relationship throughout this whole book. Like Pierce really focuses on siblings, and we get at this moment a sibling arriving as the brother that they do or do not necessarily even remember because Ragnar is so much older than Sephi.
Yeah.
In one moment, you're alive, you're here, you're gone. And her trying to kind of put so he can be sent to Valhalla, and he doesn't want that. Like,
no, he takes her hand rather than his axe.
And she's even like hesitant, and he like reaches out and grabs it and pulls it to him, so she feels his heartbeat.
Yeah. Like,
yeah, she's holding her hand over his mouth to feel his breath, and he grabs her hand and puts it on his chest, like really, vehemently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just take a moment here.
Yeah, can we
cheers?
Have a drink for Ragnar?
Pouring out for our dead homies.
I would argue that
we do drink whiskey in the Vale.
Yes, we were having this discussion because we we obviously have back chats, me and Crescent, and one of them is an ongoing, what am I gonna drink? He always drinks whatever scotch he feels like drinking because he's got all of them.
I do have and occasionally drink bourbon.
Okay,
and
he
Irish.
drinks whatever whiskey he feels like drinking because he has an overabundance, and I do not have the supply in stock that he does, and so I theme my drinks. So I have had, last week was Kraken. I have had the gin night that got messy at the end of that one. Nobody tried the Orion 65 and then jump. Ooh.
Gold
but tonight,
wine or whatever that was.
That was the blue one.
Blue one, that's what it was.
Yeah, it was blue. The Empress 65, which sits behind me here. But I messaged Crescent today, and because the line between Darrow and Severo is, Severo says something about having a beer in the Vale.
Yeah, do they have beer in the Vale?
And Darrow says, don't be sacrilege, it's whiskey. So I messaged Crescent, and that's when I discovered that my whiskey was ready to pick up, because I was like...
Yeah, she's like, oh, it's a shame my whiskey's not here.
And then,
wait, it is here.
Yeah, I didn't even let him answer. I immediately checked my email and was like, just kidding, it came in this morning. Ew. But yeah, so we're scotch drinking for the Vale. But I think this death might hit so far the hardest of all of them, because every other death is a quick and done. It's a quick and done, quick and done. Yeah. And then Quinn's is not a quick and done, but
it's like almost off screen.
It's off screen
for the most part.
This is the first one that
we see the jackal taking care of her in whatever context you want to take that. Yeah. In the back of the ship, and then Darrow dips out to go to the packs, but yeah, then this one is just so
you have to watch it, and Darrow has to finish it. If he is suffering, Darrow has to finish the death.
Yeah, Ragnar hands Darrow the knife to end his life with, and at first Darrow's like, "No, I am not doing that," and Sephi's like, "The fuck, you're not."
instantly loves Seffi.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And doesn't say a fucking word.
No.
Yeah, Seffi the Quiet.
Yeah.
Seffi the Quiet. Yeah. Whew.
Yeah. It's a thing that happens.
Yeah.
It sucks. Sucks every time.
Sucks every time. And then
Yeah,
we
Skipper,
have...
this is what, your like third time through this? Second time through this?
No, this is, of these books, my fourth.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's just been years. But this is my fourth time through. For the first trilogy. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I was saying before we started recording that, you know, after 10, 15 times, it sucks a little bit less. It never doesn't suck.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like other deaths have at this point, like even Pax, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
I feel like because Pax is immortalized by the hat, and you don't get that more long with him. And in the fandom, it's become this like, well, it's the hat. The hat was the problem. It's not actually the jackal or the scene or anything. The hat. It's Pierce's hat that was the problem. But this is the one that you're like, this was
on purpose.
This was on purpose and for plot, for everything. And you got so much more with Ragnar, and you get so much building with him of how good of a friend he is, how good of an uncle to Darrow's nieces and nephews. Like, there's so much more of a building with Ragnar that then to have this and to be the, like, the medic isn't coming. Like, that's the thing of, like, they're like, we need to get him to a yellow. Like, Darrow turns to Seffi and is like, let's get him to your shaman. And Seffi's the one who's like, it's no, like, it's not gonna happen without saying a word. But, like,
and Ragnar too is like, when Darrow says when Seffi shows up, all the sadness goes out of him. Like, he accepts it as soon as Seffi shows up. Like, he gets to see her in the end, and he is just like, I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Which, yeah, like, at one of our, like, read-throughs or however we're doing this after the read-through is done, we need to just analyze sibling relationships in this, because this is a big one of just...
Yeah, honestly, once the main read-through is done, we can do...
Oh my god,
like,
we're just gonna, like, pick and choose and do, like...
Theme. And, like, we can cherry pick a whole theme and just do top to bottom, like, that'll be a big one.
Yeah.
On your head.
It's great.
it was really hooked in the headphones though. But yeah, because this is, I feel like siblings is an ongoing back and forth, and being the person that I am that always brings Pierce back into this, of knowing his relationship with Blair, his sibling, like, this is a strong, like, ongoing thing. But yeah, it's just, you get everything in this. You get everything. Alright. Last two chapters.
Yeah. We get Darrow's meeting of Alia Snow Sparrow.
Yeah.
And
the largest human he's ever seen.
Yeah, and Ragnar is laying across her lap.
Thank you.
Hey, how fucking big is this lady? Like,
did you see me picking at this last night? Because I was going through.
I saw you yesterday trying to figure it out.
And you see, okay, so he's got putting down his 550 pounds, I think is what it equates to, of weight on her. And they say he's like 9 feet tall. And he's just laying in her lap. And then she's like picking him up all casually, like there's nothing to it, setting him down.
Yeah.
Like,
so I don't know, like, have you read Mistborn?
Uh-uh.
Yep.
No, okay. There's a race of creatures in Mistborn that they continue growing from the time they're born until the time they die, but their skin stays the same. It's the whole thing. But like, are the Obsidians like that? They just grow?
Forever.
Like,
She's huge.
yeah. Like, I I can't see it being just like Darrow is exaggerating. He's literally looking at Ragnar and Alia. Like, there's no way she's smaller than him.
Hmm. Especially like this notion that he's just laying in her lap. Like to me, I'm like, okay, if
Yeah.
I laid in my 5'1" wife's lap, you would be like, oh, this is comical. He's huge.
Yeah, this is
But like,
this is a gigantic human
right. It's not like
laying in a
it's not
small
like
person's
that. It's
lap.
like
Yeah.
he looks like probably a I don't know, go as far as child, but he looks small or
Yeah.
normal size in
Smaller.
this woman's lap. Yeah, smaller.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, Spiker, to your earlier point, another race of people or whatever ruled by women in this one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That. Yep.
Yep.
It is.
The All Mother.
It is the All Mother. So we get Alia, and then we know that the heir is Sephi. That even though Sephi is
Yeah,
younger than
the
Ragnar.
one child of Alia that she did not send to the stars is Sephi.
Yeah.
Just so that she could be the heir.
Yeah.
And then so we get Alia's relationship to the Golds. She knows who Darrow is, and is kind of dismissive of him, but she's not willing to offend Mustang because she's a real Gold.
Yes.
Yes.
Which is where we get the very good Mustang political, like.
Yeah.
She's a politician. Let's talk about, like, she knows the exact beats and how to hit, and, you know, to have that, like, all right, you know, let's negotiate, but also, like, this is what needs to be done.
Yeah. You quickly see that Alia is ruling with her own version of being a tyrant.
Yes.
Like knowing that Darrow is who he is. Like clearly she's being fed some information there beyond like she's clearly kind of in that position. So you're like, okay, this is just another form of a tyrant, just in a different category, keeping her own people down.
Yeah. Well, because we also at this point learn that Alia is well aware that the Golds are not gods. And has that like moment, and I forget the exact quote, but it's like, who are you going to follow, the god who is immortal or the mortal who thinks they are god? Because one of them has fear. And like, so you get that like, oh, she's not actually under the spell, so to speak, that the rest of the Obsidians are, that there is this world happening and they're like, she's fully aware of what is happening out there.
Yeah. So there's a paragraph right at the end of 31, or like on the last page, and she said, "Which would you fear more, a god or a mortal with the power of a god? A god cannot die, so a god has no fear. But mortal men, how frightened they are that the darkness will come, how horribly they will fight to stay in the light." And then, on its own separate line, her corrupt voice chills my blood. And then immediately after that, it's he knows, and it's like, fuck.
Ragnar,
And it says Mustang and I realize it at the same terrible moment. She knows they're mortal.
Yeah.
And they realize Ragnar didn't come to make peace.
Yeah. She's like, that's why he said words won't suffice.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to kill her, and that's why he was so quiet on the shuttle. Is like, he knew he was coming back to kill his mother.
Which is an interesting reflection of, we have just heard. Okay, so we're 30 chapters into this. We have the mother reflection with Darrow, where he gets to revisit and be with his mom. Then we have we get the Severo revisiting the mother, very briefly. But then just before this, we get Mustang revealing her mother's story before this moment of meeting them. Like, it's just very interesting how it's laid out in these 30 chapters, 31 or whatever we're at, of meeting the four mothers and the differences between them and the raising of the children and how the children then, well, in theory, 3 are dead and the 4th went to kill. And just that laying out of that montage.
Yeah. Yeah, and Darrow wonders, like, when did she figure it out? Like, was it before she sold Ragnar out?
Yeah.
Or was it after?
Yeah.
Like, did she send him to the stars knowing he was going to be a slave? And then I think, like, there's an interesting point where Darrow says he died free, and Alia's like, wait, what? Like,
yeah.
He calls
like,
it out.
even though she knows that he was sold into slavery, she says, like, I know my son, like, I know who he was. And then Darrow says he was born free, or he died free, and that's even still big for her. Like, even though she's corrupt and awful.
Yeah.
My book just went back to the end of chapter 30.
It just wants to reread that one part.
Stop it.
No, we're just gonna leave that closed.
We're just gonna pretend that
That's that over there.
Happen.
Chapter 32.
Yeah, and then so we get Darrow and Mustang as and Cassius as actual prisoners.
I forgot Cassius is like kicking around at this point.
Yeah, so they kind of
they fix him up enough.
A little bit, yeah. They put a little Band-Aid on his neck.
Stop the bleeding.
It's fine. Just pull it out. That's what I've learned in first aid. Is if something goes in, you instantly pull it out. That's definitely what first aid says.
Yeah. And yeah, so then we get Darrow and Mustang thrown over the back of griffins and taken to Olympus.
Yes,
sorry,
not Olympus.
Asgard.
Wrong world.
Same world.
Same world, different gods.
A little further north, south, whichever way.
Yeah, I believe it's the South Pole of Mars.
Do not offend in this moment. Brackets and Soy Cube are two howlers of the Norse.
Yep. But yeah, so they basically get to the Way of Stains, and Darrow's like, Sephi, come on, like, something's going on here, and he's exhorting her to, basically trust him. Like, this is why we brought, like, Ragnar came back. This is why he sent all these messengers. Like, come on, your brother trusted me. Like, I need you to trust me. Let me show you that your gods are false.
Yeah.
He sees it too. Like, he's reading her, and he's like, oh, I see my momentum. I got to keep going, digging into it. Like, for once.
The Helldiver is all about momentum.
Yep. Let me show you how mortal your gods are.
Yeah. And then we get the old Violet pretending to, be a messenger of the gods, I guess. And we get, like, the footprints in blood in the snow. And Mustang's like, no, it's just blood in the stone. Like, it's not magic.
Yeah. It is interesting though,
That's-
right? You see this like whole world they
Yeah.
built where they're just using all these different mystical
Oh,
things and showmanship to keep them
Yeah.
down. Even with the
for
violet, like
sure.
how do you pull that card? I'm gonna go to Asgard and I'm gonna be pretend to be this mystical god and come down to speak to these people.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we see Darrow. They're basically pretending to be Valkyrie, and they're trying to draw the quote unquote gods out, and that's where we end. Basically,
Yeah, that's
is
it.
their what is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, Salem chose some interesting that she didn't go with the part.
Yeah, they didn't
She
go
went with the cliffhangers
parts
this
of the
time.
book. Yeah, gonna have to talk with her about that.
A true domino, just letting us know.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Well, as the person who at this point has to figure out how Lightbringer is going to spray, like,
Bless you. How you
Yeah.
figure that out.
but also, yeah, she did a very, so Red Rising, she did not split based on the parts, even though I think,
Yeah, it was just chapters divided
I
into
think
4.
I think all 5 books, how many books do we have out now? Yeah, 5 books.
5.
Are all 4 parts. And I won't lie, I looked through Lightbringer today because I tried to figure out my copy of Lightbringer does not have chapter numbers. It's going to be a problem. It's fine. It's been pointed out I can't count after I said, I could just count what chapter I'm on. And I can't count. It's fine. But all of the books have 4 parts to them. And so Red Rising, she did not split on the chapters. Golden Sun, she did.
For the most
Morning,
part.
for
First
the
one,
most
not.
part. Oh,
Because she went past the end of part 1
yeah.
to the end of the
And then,
gala.
ooh,
in
so then
Golden Sun.
Morningstar.
And then
She did
Morningstar
not
is
go
just
on
all
the. Yeah, Morningstar
cliffhangers.
is not on the. Yeah, it's cliffhanger she's sticking on. So we're going to have a discussion with our Dominia here. Primus, what are you doing to us
Domina,
with all these?
Primus.
It's to keep us going, right? Get to the
I
end of
think
Friday
that's
and you're
it.
like, oh, I need a break. And you're like, oh, I got to keep going now
I
for the
gotta
week.
keep going.
Gotta find out what happens next.
Except
But
for she's learned
luckily
that I
she's
only
coming
read
on at
them
the end
for
of the
this.
book. So
Yeah. So
we'll
we're gonna
hound
get
her
it.
about it then.
We'll hound about it, which so that our viewership knows, and I think a few people do because I talked about it out of context, is not happening for Morning Star. It is because I go on vacation at the end of April, and that screws up everything. So we are doing pretty much 3
I
parts
do a
in
little
3
bit too, but
weeks. Yeah, you're on a
we're
vacation as well.
honestly we're doing 3 parts,
3 parts in 1 week.
just over
Sorry.
1 week.
1 week.
Because it's the 12th today, and we're recording 12, 16, 19. And
yes.
so there we don't have time.
We don't have time to do out of context, and we love out of
and there's
context.
yeah, we do. But there's so much content in this book that, I mean, last week's episode was 3 hours. We're just over 2 hours right now. Like we don't have time for more stuff.
And I know she is reworking Dark Age, so that is not a month. It will be 6 weeks. She is working on that. And so, yes, I know. Because that's like...
Yeah, because otherwise we would end up with 4-hour episodes, and
that
there would
was
be nothing we could do.
That was the joke I made to Crescent today of like, okay, so we're on book 3 and we keep getting 3-hour episodes. If we're on book 4 and we get 4 hour, and then 5 is 5 hours by the time Red God comes out, are we having 7-hour episodes? What is happening?
Yeah.
That's when it's your job.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So she is reworking Dark Age, but just so that people are aware, we are reading... At this moment, we have been reading what's at least happening through the den as much as we have not had out of context. But the next few weeks, we are reading ahead of you guys so that I can go on vacation and I'm not even
But
gonna.
we will still
I'm
be
gonna,
releasing on the same schedule.
Yes, I will be editing probably on the same schedule. My Australian friend has an international driver's license, and I'm gonna tell her like you're driving through Vermont, which notoriously, I'm not gonna say what happens. Vermont is where I had the most damage driving through during Dark Age. That's all I'm gonna say. But she's gonna drive through Vermont because an Australian driving on the opposite side of the road. If you are not aware of Montreal driving, don't drive in Montreal. So she's not driving in Montreal. She will drive in Vermont down to Boston while on the opposite side of the road. And I'm just going to sit there and edit. And that's going to be great. It's going to be fun. So you guys will get the same release schedule, but our recording schedule is ahead of time. And then we got to go right back into Iron Gold. Well, some point I will be reading Lightbringer in the middle of that and then pretending that I don't know things.
Just like you're pretending you don't know things about Dark Age and Iron Gold right now.
Well,
you just might be a touch more excited about what you're reading in Lightbringer.
Mm-hmm. Maybe. Or traumatized.
Or traumatized. I'm hoping that Lightbringer...
Vastly more traumatized.
So much lately.
It's called Lightbringer. I'm hoping it's, in comparison to Dark Age, I'm hoping we have a little bit more light.
Maybe.
There's a phrase for what that's called. Sweet summer child.
Yeah. Oh, my sweet summer child.
Oh.
Or hope for the worst, or expect the worst, and then anything better than that is just cream.
Exactly. If you expect the worst, you can never be disappointed.
Exactly. I already know which deaths I expect to happen, and you can join the den if you want to learn what that is. But for today, thank you.
Yeah, that is it for us for today.
Thank you so much, Merlot, for joining us. And the last minute, you were like 2 days prior throw in. Like, you were amazing for that. Thank you so much.
Excited to be here. Glad you guys had me.
Yeah, welcome back anytime. Even though we're keeping both of us away from the XP of the den, but we'll get it back eventually.
Well, I mean, all three of us. You guys are both ahead of me.
Yeah, he doesn't care about XP. He doesn't know.
All right,
we'll
get it back.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this week's most traumatic so far episode of Fade to Obsidian.
Yeah. The one with... I feel like my only editing breaks on this is just us sitting in silence, thinking about our thoughts.
Yeah, avoiding talking about Ragnar.
That's the editing of this week. So if you're on the audio version of this, that's what you missed. Nothing else. Maybe some dogs. But thank you very much for tuning in. It's been fabulous.
Have a good week.